So the UFC media is constantly ever changing. And it's not just UFC, guys. Combat sports in general, boxing, WWE, bare knuckle fight, any genre of combat sports has their media folks who are great at disseminating information to people like you and I, keeping us abreast with what's going on, all the hottest takes, the drama, the latest gossip, news surrounding our favorite fighters. And one of the coolest things now is, especially in this day and age, that information is so readily available. You don't have to really go looking for it. It's already there. It's like staring right at you. And with the advent of smartphones, smart technology, our multimedia type devices, they can pick up on certain keywords. They can take a look at our viewing habits, and based on that information, they can actually help articulate the kind of I guess the kind of things that they know that we want to see, right? So, and it's interesting, guys. Like I'm telling you, like when I talk about media and I talk about how that landscape is shifting and changing and constantly evolving and growing, guys. I don't know if this is probably one of those. This is probably one of those things that you want to pay very, very key attention to. Now, there's a lot of folks like us out there talking about combat sports, especially sports entertainment. But one person in particular really, really kind of takes the center of all this, and especially this whole shift that's happening. And I'm talking about Nina Drama. Now, you guys might know her as Nina Drama, but her real name is Nina Marie Danielle. And I want to talk about her because she's a former Playboy Playmate, 2018 Playboy Playmate. She's also a genius marketer, folks. All right, she's very, very talented, and she has an amazing, she does podcasts, she does interviews, and you've seen her around, interviewing a lot of your favorite fighters. Some call her actually everything that's wrong when it comes with MMA media. And some are just like, wow, where was she like 15, 20 years ago? This is what the sport needed back then. So, I mean, she's really good at what she does. Now, the thing with Nina, and the reason why they call her Nina Drama is because there's usually a lot of drama that surrounds her. And maybe this is kind of one of her acclamation to fame, as so to speak. But I mean, why is there a lot of drama that surrounds her, and why is there so much backlash when it comes to Nina Drama, right? And is the UFC really benefiting from people like Nina Drama? Well, let's talk about it, guys. Let's talk about it while I drink my tea, and I hope you guys are drinking your tea. Welcome back to Duality 7X. I'm your host Shiraz, and today I want to break down who Nina Drama really is, Nina Marie Danielle, and why there is so much controversy surrounding her, and what this moment really says about the future of multimedia, the future of MMA media, and why people like Nina Drama matter. All right? For decades, guys, MMA journalism, followed like a particular playbook, right? Press conferences, going to the pressers, being able to identify certain key lines, key stories, hearing what the fighters had to say, going to the scrums, insider phone calls, emails, any kind of credentialed reporters, getting certain kinds of quotes and then chasing those folks down, trying to get whatever tidbit of information you can. And then those individuals, reporters, journalists, they would take whatever information they were able to get, piece it all together, and then they would create their storylines, right? So the UFC arguably probably one of the most creator-friendly platforms in sports entertainment, has leaned into the content, the type of content that the new type of content that's starting to attract a lot of people and starting to create a lot of buzz. Before there was, it was almost like UFC and, that type of MMA and that type of sports or combative sports was kind of kept more in the dark, right? Those who knew about it would tap into the storylines, would get to read about it, but most often the case, you didn't really hear much about it. Now it's in your face. Everywhere you go, almost every other advertisement or storyline has to do with probably one of your favorite fighters, right? And so the UFC has learned over the years, and they've been able to pick up on these hot takes, the trends, and what people want, what's relevant, what matters, and they've been able to put it all together. And I think this is probably one of the reasons why organizations like the UFC are so successful, because they have people like Nina Marie Daniel. They have people like her who are constantly out there, cutting edge multimedia, cutting edge marketing and interviewing and using all the techniques of the trade, not to mention her uncanny ability to really connect with people, especially the fighters. And because of that, you've got this unbelievable, content that you just get hooked and you get drawn to. And that's the beauty of Nina Marie Daniel's ecosystem, and how she's been able to kind of put together this framework of her identity. There's a lot of talented people out there. People, you don't necessarily have to go and do journalism or write, or do marketing or jingle campaigns, for businesses or companies or for people out there. But if you know anything about marketing, and if you've got a flair, with people, if you're not, if you have a way to connect with people, and whether that's through speaking, whether that's through your, through your art, through your your profession, you could do incredibly well. And so the UFC's picked up on that, and this is why Nina Marie Drama Danielle comes into the picture, because she's not just a journalist in your traditional sense, guys. She's got such an amazing personality. She's very, kind of optimized, if you want to call it that. I'm using like YouTube SEO type algorithmic kind of words, but she's very optimized for like this short form type of virality, for audience type of reaction, and really for the algorithmic spread. And I think we can all learn from Nina. But here's the thing, right? So Nina Marie Daniel, she first gained mainstream notoriety, recognition, as I mentioned, as being Playboy Playmates of the year back in 2018. All right, she's born in 88, and Nina kept a lot of her background private. Now, she occasionally shares some nuggets about her family, her upbringing, on social media. She even mentioned something about studying at Harvard, like, taking some, like a psychology. I don't know if it was a course or a program, but I don't know if that was just kind of like tongue in cheek. But I mean, what's really evident about Nina is her creative abilities, her creative instincts. This is what's made her so popular, and really, she's taken the media world by storm, just because of her interviews and her, as I mentioned and as I alluded to, her uncanny ability to really connect with people. She's got a great fight IQ, understanding. She understands the sport, the organization, UFC very well. She's very familiar with the fighters, and she's familiar with the strategy. She understands the UFC vision and values, and she takes that and she compartmentalizes that and integrates that into her interviews, right? So she knows her product and she knows it very, very well. And this is, again, another part to why she's so successful. During her interviews, you'll catch her talking about topics like food. She'll be asking fighters, what's your favorite food? What kind of fashion are you into? She'll talk about their insecurities, talk about their personal interests, their hobbies. She'll even get into talking about their ego. She'll talk about their relationships, and she'll even talk about sex. Now, the thing these fighters aren't usually asked are the kinds of things that Nina brings out, right? And it's not accidental, guys. I mean, she's literally taken the oldest playbook from some of the top journalists, uh, you know, around the world, and she's been able to bring it into the folds of the octagon, a place where was at one time just kind of regarded as modern day gladiators with brute strength, and often looked down upon by regular folks, that they weren't as intelligent, or they had some kind of issue. They were just brutes who used to fight and in a cage. And but no, it's not about that. In fact, some of these guys are probably the smartest people that we know. Very highly intellectual. These are the kind of people that need to understand different levels of martial arts and know how to implement them when they're in the ring against their opponent. It's not an easy task, guys. And then all the things they need to do to prep their body to train, how to cut weight, how to increase weight, and do all that within a certain time. Their training regimen, nutrition, dieting. I mean, that's not just brute strength and I will fight. No, these guys obviously have a certain level of intellect. You can't not have that and feel that you're going to do good. You need to have a certain level of intelligence to be able to compete, especially at this high level of mixed martial arts. Now, Nina's segments, they often feel kind of controlled by some kind of chaotic connotation to it. She's done some like cosplay type of bits before with like Alexander Volkanovsky. She's done some crazy, ridiculous like hypotheticals with like Tom Aspinall that'll get into here in just a little bit. You might have seen her with Johnny Walker doing some outdoor bits with him. I mean, she's got this unorthodox, unconventional, somewhat cringy, awkward type of vibe, but it works because it's Nina Marie Daniel. She's incredible, guys. And like fighters love to work with Nina because she humanizes them. Right? She knows what her audience wants, and she connects her audience with these guys that they normally would have not had any information about, maybe not even privy to anything other than what these fighters do in the octagon, but she brings them out of the octagon into her audience's world and shows that they're just as normal as they are and may even have the same like-minded interests as you. They may like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. They may like, going to McDonald's, or they might just enjoy doing nothing, walking around, hanging out with their friends, going shopping at the malls, watching movies. They do. They're not just fighters, guys. And she's has this unique ability to really bring these people right into our world and creating that normalcy around them, that they're just like you and I. And that in itself is how people can relate to not only the fighters, but they can then start to relate to their craft, the organization, the UFC. And this is what kind of helps spur a new generation of fans. And I truly believe it, guys. And she travels a lot. Like, this is a sport where, is heavily influenced by sponsorship, visibility, and like more than any other kind of industry that's out there. There's a rigid kind of stiffness when it comes to like traditional media, crossover platforms of different types of exposures and stuff. There's certain things that are allowed, not allowed. But Nina comes in and she just really makes everything look so damn easy, right? And there was some, but some people may not necessarily follow suit and may not necessarily agree with Nina's type of journalism. For instance, um, some people called out the fact that why does Nina continue to hang out with like Gen Z, type of influencers and, casual fans. And, she doesn't really take her job very seriously because she's got a very, um, you know, forward slash casual type of approach, which is really weird. But she just, again, she likes to do things in a very unorthodox manner, off the cuff, and just according to her own style. And so I want to talk about a little bit of drama that happened. So recently there was some controversy, apparently, that escalated between when fans started speculating about Nina's relationships. Now, she was with, somebody for like the longest time since 2023. I mean, I don't know who she's with now or what, but I can tell you that there was a lot of drama, probably because of her social skills and stuff. Maybe people automatically accuse her of kind of sleeping around, or being having a certain kind of coziness level with certain fighters, that might infringe on friends with benefits kind of a deal. And I think a lot of that is taken out of context just because the way Nina is. And for example, Sean Strickland. When you think of Sean Strickland, he looks very, he's a very polarizing kind of a person. He's got a lot of attitude, a lot of ego. He doesn't really take kindly to talking to people that he doesn't really know. He's very unfiltered. He's got a profane way of words, very unapologetic. When it comes to empathy, you can throw that out the window when it comes to Sean Strickland. And then you pair that with somebody like Nina's very social, flirtatious kind of interview tactic, style, strategy. And how does that even work? I mean, but Nina has been doing this for so long that she can adapt to any environment, to any challenge that's in her way. And she was able to connect with Sean at a completely different level, to the point, like where people were actually accusing Nina and Sean of having some kind of a relationship outside of the scope of that interviewer-interviewee type of relationship. That's interesting, right? So, I mean, Strickland, he has his own partner. Don't really know too much about his life. Nina had been in a long-term relationship that I alluded to, with Janelle Castillo, for over a decade. But I don't know if they're still together now. But both Nina and Sean, when addressed about the rumors of them being together, they just confirmed that the relationship is strictly platonic. And Strickland himself has described their kind of dynamic ability, or the way they are, as kind of being like very sibling like, right? So and Nina was kind of like also very notably backstage comforting him at one time, after his title loss at UFC 297. But again, sometimes they become friends. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's more than that. People sometimes take things out of context, and that's what's just crazy. Rumors are always flying left, right, and center. And sometimes rumors say more about the audience projection than the reality. So that's why they say optics is a lot, but it's not everything, right? You got to be careful what you're seeing. What you're seeing may not necessarily be what you're actually seeing. If that makes any sense. So anyways, there was also some tension between her and MMA Guru, right? There was a boiling point, I guess, between these guys back in October of 2024, where Nina publicly had a spat with MMA Guru. And so Guru made some very derogatory comments about Nina. She didn't like that, about her journalism, her behavior, and Nina got really riled up. She like totally fired back. She called it as being very toxic, very clout-driven behavior. Very, very disappointed in Guru. Guru responded by accusing Nina pretty much of hypocrisy, citing that her, especially with her friendship at Strickland and how it's all fake. And, so anyways, I mean, it was like a classic media civil war. But then again, there's a lot of people on the flip side who've defended her. People like Ariel Helwani actually had to chime in and said, guys, because there was a lot of influencers getting involved, and then influencers arguing with other influencers, and then all kinds of drama exploded between that. And then people like Ariel had to step in and say, guys, we need to just slow down here a little bit. Let's call for some unity here between everybody. Meanwhile, all these people started to split up in different kinds of groups and camps in terms of what they believed and what they thought and think MMA media should actually be. So, I mean, whether this was Nina and Guru, they obviously have a history, and not in a platonic or that kind of way. They just don't like each other, right? And of course, that really spilled over to kind of mainstream media. But then there's also an incident where Nina had a very close friendship with Tom Aspinall. She interviewed him on a few occasions, and during one of his fights, he actually was the interviewer, and Nina was the interviewee, and he had some questions for her. All right, some kind of X-rated questions as well. Aspinall pretty much kind of flipped the script on everybody. He asked her some very explicit questions, which are almost very cringe, kind of like, or yeah, it was very cringeworthy to kind of even talk about, even here. Like, it was just very awkward because it's coming from Tom Aspinall, and he's kind of an awkward guy, as per se. But I mean, he asked her some very below the belt type of questions, and she took it. Her reaction was, I mean, she was shocked, right? Well, like, wow. I mean, it's not every day that the fighters, the people that she's interviewing, come back and start to ask her the same kind of questions. And in this case, that's what happened. There was a lot of awkward silence, and she's just kind of staring at him like in weird, giving him weird looks. But I mean, she laughed, and she said, look, she wasn't offended. She said that Aspinall was just kind of joking, and he sees the wild questions her followers send her on a daily basis, and he was just kind of playing to that as well too. So I mean, that's kind of like the key detail, but I mean, those are the kind of things that I'm talking about. And so anyways, Nina drama, or Nina Marie Daniel, however you want to think of her as, she's really good for MMA, and she's not destroying MMA media, guys. In fact, she's actually exposing how fragmented and how closed off the sport can actually be. All right. And, you have a lot of people wanting more investigative journalism, more investigative, type of reporting. People want to see memes. People want to see like chaos. People want to see drama. So Nina brings all of that and more under one umbrella. All right. And the UFC stands by her. They love what she does. She's done very well for the UFC. They've made a lot of money with her doing what she does. And in turn, she's also made a lot of money and a great income doing what she does. And she loves it, right? So, like a little controversy, as they say, isn't really bad for business. And Nina didn't really break the system, guys. She just kind of optimized it, and to the point where you and I are actually talking about it. So it is actually really interesting. So anyways, guys, whether you love her, hate her, it really doesn't make a difference. It's not relevant because she ain't going nowhere. And so if you don't like Nina, then you just don't have to watch her interviews. It is what it is. But she's got a great take on things. I love her creative instincts, her ability to pry out certain kinds of answers from these fighters that you normally wouldn't see them share under normal circumstances. But what's normal these days, right? What I perceive as normal, what you perceive as normal are two completely different things, guys. But like it or not, she's here to stay. I totally enjoy her commentary, her journalism, her reporting. It's definitely cutting edge. And I think we're going to see a lot more of this moving forward. But guys, I want to thank you guys for sticking around. I don't know if you guys know of Nina. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments. But yeah, aside from that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please smash a like and subscribe. Join us here on Duality 7X for more fight talk. No fluff, no fillers, no biasness, just real fight talk, guys. And I look forward to catching you guys on the next one.